In the far-off land of Colombia, there lived a notorious orphan hitman known as Sandwich. With a bloodthirsty streak, he left a trail of carnage wherever he set foot. Whether they were men or women, the elderly or children, this guy would take them out without a second thought. His opponents couldn't survive the basics before they were pushing up daisies. One bullet sends one soul to the afterlife. This drifter's gunplay was right up there with the legendary John Wick. What's even crazier is that he's basically kin to a one-armed warrior because his left arm has been missing for who knows how long. In its place is a custom-made iron hand that Sandwich forged for himself. So he packs a punch like a freight train, one hit and the enemy is knocking on heaven's door. Sometimes he turns that fist into a razor-sharp blade to cut through people without showing a shred of mercy. The reason he became scarred like this is because of the big boss Diablo, leader of the Blue Dragon Gang, a criminal organization and the biggest narco-traffickers in South America. Turns out, 15 years ago, Diablo sent his goons to hunt Sandwich down and chained his arm to a steel beam. To escape, Sandwich had to chop off his own arm. So now, he's been carrying that grudge in his heart, just waiting for the day he can settle the score. Over on the Colombian border, a cargo truck just cleared a military checkpoint after an inspection. At a vacant lot, the driver met up with a long-haired associate to check the goods. Turns out, they were smuggling a young man named Chris across the border. Suddenly, the driver barked, "Give me all your cash." Seeing them pull knives, Chris coolly replied, "I already paid what we agreed. We want every cent you got." Realizing these two bottom feeders were trying to shake him down, Chris went on high alert. The driver threatened him with a blade but got leveled with one hit. Then the long-haired guy thought 2 against 1 would be a cakewalk. Boy, was he wrong. They both got their clocks cleaned. This tough guy looked like he could take a punch, but he was still a rookie and got his pearly whites knocked straight to the dentist. After that, Chris took back what was his and vanished. It turns out this guy is an ex-con who just finished doing 15 years in the slammer for a bank robbery he didn't commit. The love of his life was murdered by that boss Diablo. That's why Chris risked crossing the border for revenge. Shortly after, Chris scouted out the Blue Dragon headquarters. After watching the place, he noticed a black car that regularly picks up and drops off a girl at school. None other than Lisa, the daughter of the boss Diablo and Chris's own biological child. See, Diablo is like those old tyrants. Only what belongs to his enemies makes him happy. So Diablo kidnapped Chris's missus and dragged her to Colombia. What he didn't know was that she was already pregnant with Chris's baby. Thinking she was his, Diablo spoiled Lisa rotten. Chris's wife never dared to tell the truth just to keep her daughter alive. The next day, when the car carrying Lisa stopped at a red light, Chris disguised himself as a homeless man and offered to wash the windshield for change. The 2 bodyguards didn't take kindly to that and told him to beat it. But Chris demanded payment just to stir up trouble. He smashed a side mirror to bait them out, then dropped one of them with 2 quick strikes. The other guy tried to bolt, but he was too slow. Unfortunately, Lisa was terrified and ran for it. This goon had a piece. Chris disarmed him and kicked him dead in the mouth to drop him. Then he hijacked their ride without a return date and cut Lisa off. With no other choice, Chris had to toss the girl into the trunk to get out of there before the guards could swarm him. When boss Diablo found out his useless men let his daughter get snatched, he went ballistic. Even after screaming his lungs out, they still had no clue who did it. "You boys deserve a little gift. I've wasted too much money feeding you useless dogs." With that, Diablo went to work, using a baseball bat to beat one guy to a pulp. The other guy he left to his goons to handle. Then, Diablo put out a hit, a $1 million bounty for anyone who could find his daughter. Meanwhile, Chris drove deep into the woods to avoid pursuit. His plan was to get Lisa to her aunt's place in the States. But hearing her scream, he finally opened the trunk. That spunky kid immediately attacked him and hightailed it out of there, after chasing her until he was drenched in sweat. Finally, to keep her safe, Chris tried to calm her down. "I'm not the bad guy here. I just want to show you something." Chris pulled out a photo of him and his wife together. "Is that your mother? I need to tell you the truth." Lisa didn't buy it, calling him a crazy kidnapper. To gain her trust, Chris handed her his gun and said, "I'll take you home, or you can shoot me right now." Thinking it was a toy, Lisa pulled the trigger. Bang. She almost gave her own old man a lead salad. That finally settled her down enough to get in the car. But when she realized Chris wasn't heading home but towards the border, she threatened to blow his brains out. He thought she was joking, but the kid was dead serious. Luckily, Chris was 1 step ahead and only left 1 bullet in the chamber. Right then, the fuel in the car was almost gone. With no choice, Chris pulled into a roadside gas station. Lisa saw some local punks outside, and while Chris was distracted, she bolted out to beg for help. The punks didn't know what was going on, but trying to be knights in shining armor, they attacked. Chris dropped the first one instantly. The other 3 jumped in, but they couldn't touch a hair on Chris's head. He's done hard time. These wet behind the ears punks were nothing to him. Chris didn't hold back, smashing his face and then slamming his head onto the hood, nearly giving him a permanent nap. Then he saw Lisa on a payphone calling her dad for help. Panicked that their location was blown, Chris forced the stubborn girl back into the car. No more Mr. Nice Guy, he tied her up to stop the drama. But before they could move, Lisa started kicking up a storm again. Chris snapped, "Knock it off. Who the hell do you think you are to tell me what to do? I'm your real father." Lisa went stone cold silent for 5 seconds, her brain completely fried. The stress made her hunger come rushing back, so she demanded food right away. Realizing you can't talk sense to an empty stomach, Chris took his daughter to grab a bite. But Chris didn't know that bounty hunters were already sniffing their trail. Meanwhile, Diago's right-hand man was planning a coup and leaked the location to the hitman Sandwich. He made a deal. One hand washes the other. You gotta help me take the throne. Consider it done. Sandwich saw this as the perfect chance to get payback for his missing arm and moved out immediately. At the same time, Chris and Lisa were at a fast food joint. Pointing to her diamond necklace, Chris said, "I gave that to your mother when I proposed." "Where have you been for 15 years, dear old dad?" "Diago framed me, and I've been rotting in a cell. He kidnapped her to be his wife, not knowing she was pregnant. When you were 10, she tried to tell you the truth and run away, but he killed her." "You're lying. My father loves me. That's only because he has nobody else left." Right then, armed bounty hunters surrounded them. The leader barked, "Scumbag, hands where I can see them." Chris just gave him a look. "You really think I'm scared of you?" Then he slammed the guy's head onto the table and kicked another in the face. All hell broke loose. While the goons pinned Chris down inside, the leader and another guy dragged Lisa out. They even shot out his tires so he couldn't follow. Inside, Chris was trying to make short work of these losers, but they swarmed him like FLIs on a rib roast. He didn't hold back, sending one guy flying through the window with a massive kick. But by the time he got outside, the car was no longer usable, so he headed back in. He grabbed one goon who was waking up and demanded the location of their hideout. The guy tried to be a tough guy, giving him attitude. Chris lost it and smashed a fire extinguisher into his face until he sang like a bird. Elsewhere, Lisa was taken to a stronghold. The first floor was a heavily guarded bar, and the second floor was the lair of a silver-haired boss. Seeing Diago's daughter, the boss gave his goon a $10,000 bonus. "Sit tight, kid. Your dad's gonna pay a cool $1 million to get you back. You live, I get rich." Am I really worth that much? I never bluff. He pulled out his phone and called Diago, then handed it to Lisa. "Tell your daddy who's got you." Lisa only asked one thing. "Did you kill my mother?" "Of course not. I love you both. If I'm lying, may all my exes drop dead tomorrow. That kidnapper is filling your head with lies." Hearing this, Diago knew Chris was out and started sweating bullets. Suddenly, gunfire erupted. A lone hitman was storming the place. It was Sandwich, Colombia's Grim Reaper, coming for Lisa. The silver-haired boss's goons opened fire on the uninvited guest, but Sandwich was an elite marksman, dropping goons with every single bullet. Going up against Sandwich was basically suicide. When he ran out of ammo, he even used his empty gun to take a guy out. Then, Sandwich switched to his real weapon, his iron fist. One hit, one body. He was tearing through everyone, he didn't discriminate. Terrified, the silver-haired boss turned tail and ran. He tried to grab his car keys, but Lisa was waiting and knocked him out cold. She saw Sandwich heading up to the second floor and grabbed a weapon to defend herself. Out in the hallway, Sandwich was clearing the room when Lisa opened fire. Realizing she was his enemy's daughter, Sandwich locked onto her. He ran into a guy with a shotgun, disarmed him in a flash, and sent him to the big sleep with one blast. He was about to grab Lisa when Chris showed up. Sandwich thought he had an easy target, but he just met his match. They went at it. Chris pinned him to the wall, but Sandwich's iron hand was just too powerful. Sandwich unleashed a storm of blows that sent Chris reeling. They traded hits, but Chris was still struggling against this pro and took a heavy punch that sent him to the floor. Just as Sandwich was about to finish him, Lisa appeared. The hitman immediately pivoted back to his main prize and chased her upstairs. Chris followed but got tossed back down in seconds. Lisa hit a dead end and thought it was game over, but Chris leaped out and tackled Sandwich through a roof onto a car. He kept the hitman busy so Lisa could run. Suddenly, a hail of bullets forced them both to dive for cover. The silver-haired boss was back and spraying lead everywhere. Chris managed to slip away. The boss was gunning for Sandwich. but his keys jammed at the worst time. The hitman stepped up, pulled a knife, and ended him right then and there. Sandwich went back out and got jumped by Chris again, but the hitman still had the upper hand and kicked Chris halfway across the room. Out of nowhere, Lisa drove a car straight into Sandwich, a total T-bone. Chris grabbed his daughter, and they peeled out of there. They thought they got him, but Sandwich was tougher than a $2 steak. He survived with just a scratch. He even stitched his own head up like a psycho. He went out to find a new ride and saw the punks smoking. "Hey, I need your car." They laughed in his face, asking if he was high and threatening to kick his butt. The tough guys got out, but as soon as they took their jackets off, Sandwich grabbed one and gave him a kiss of death. The other guy bolted, leaving his buddy behind. A working girl nearby nearly lost her lunch. Meanwhile, Chris and Lisa made it to the city center. After everything, she realized he was her protector and started to trust him. Chris explained how Diago's gang robbed the bank and planted the evidence on him. Lisa was still skeptical. But then a song her mother loved started playing in the park, and Lisa sang along. Chris told her it was her mom's favorite, which finally convinced her. She asked why her mom never visited him in prison. Chris said, if she had, Diago would have had me killed inside. She could only send me one letter telling me to save you from that monster. Elsewhere, Diago found the silver-haired boss's place turned into a morgue. Security footage showed Sandwich was behind it. The hitman was already on the prowl for his next move. Chris and Lisa were looking for a way out. Chris wanted to head straight to the airport and fly to the US, but Lisa resisted. She had a whole life there and a father she thought loved her. "That's just your side of the story," she yelled. Regardless of her protests, Chris was determined to get her out. While he was hot wiring a truck, the owner showed up, and Chris had to draw his gun to scare him off. Lisa took that split second to vanish, leaving Chris fuming. He tried to hitch a ride, but it was Sandwich behind the wheel. Chris had to use his leg express and run after them. Lisa stopped at a payphone to call Diago. Bad move, the hitman was already on her like a bloodhound. She hid under a car, but Sandwich found her. He offered her an apple like a creepy villain. "Eat up, Lisa. We're going home." Terrified, she took a bite and then spat it in his face before running. Chris finally caught up, but Sandwich had the bigger gun and the tactical advantage. He grabbed Lisa and used her as a human shield. "Even if you're a crack shot, I'll pull this trigger before your bullet hits. Try me." Chris had no choice. He dropped his weapon and surrendered. Sandwich tied Lisa to the car and started beating the life out of Chris. Chris was in agony, but he managed to spit out, "Who the hell are you?" Sandwich just kept swinging. "Who the hell are you to ask me that?" Just as he was about to deliver the killing blow, Lisa screamed, "He's my father." That stopped Sandwich dead in his tracks. Realizing Chris was more useful alive, Sandwich spared him. The next morning, Chris found himself hanging from a tree like a human pinata. Diago showed up. Sandwich had set up this reunion. Diago drew his piece. "I should have killed you 15 years ago instead of just sending you to the pen." Chris held his ground. Diago cut him down because he needed Chris to deal with the hitman. They formed a shaky alliance. Diago confessed, 15 years ago, he hired Sandwich to kidnap Chris's wife to keep her quiet, but the psycho killed her instead. "When I caught wind of this, I set an ambush and knocked him out with a heavy dose of sedatives before chaining him to a steel beam. But the second he woke up, Sandwich hacked off his own arm, slaughtered 20 of my men, and vanished into thin air. Since then, he's been a ghost, laying low and waiting for the right moment to settle the score." It all makes sense now, but Chris still had one question. How did that hitman even know I snatched Lisa and come looking for a piece of the action? Before Diago could answer, his phone started buzzing. It was the bald-headed Sandwich himself. He growled, "Remember that spot where you chained me up? Oh, And do me a favor, thank that loudmouth fur-lipped goon of yours. He's the one who fed me the intel to grab the girl." Right then, Diago knew his second-in-command was a rat. So he drew his piece and ended the traitor right there to blow off some steam. After dumping the traitor's body, they hauled tail to an old mining plant. Before heading in, Diago told Chris, "Sandwich thinks you're already pushing up daisies, so use that to your advantage, flank him and take him out from behind." Then, Diago geared up to the teeth and sent 2 of his men in first. But in the blink of an eye, Sandwich had already dropped one of them, leaving his body cold on the floor. Diago saw blood dripping from above, looked up, and realized the other guy's soul had already moved on to the next life. Suddenly, he appeared behind them like a damn ghost. He disarmed Diago and marched him toward the ore crusher. That's where he had Lisa chained to a moving conveyor belt. Turns out, he wanted eye for an eye for his missing arm, giving Diago a hellish choice: saw off the girl's arm yourself, or watch her get ground into a million pieces. He hit the switch, and the belt roared to life. They had 15 minutes to save her, or she was history. Meanwhile, Chris was making his move through the back entrance. He stepped inside, saw the bodies, and started hunting. Sandwich spotted him and opened fire immediately. He was ticked off seeing Chris still breathing, so he went on a warpath. Things were looking real grim. Diago scrambled to kill the conveyor belt, but that bald psycho had rigged the whole system, frying the controls. Cutting the power did squat, and even jamming metal into the gears wouldn't stop it. It was looking like Lisa was a goner. Sandwich even left us alright there, putting Diago through a total psychological meat grinder. Down below, Chris lunged out and knocked the gun right out of the hitman's hand. Sandwich tried to slam him into the ground but missed. Next thing you know, he's laying into Chris with that iron fist. They were going at it, trading blows that would have killed a normal man. Chris managed to tackle him, but the hitman flipped the script. Chris finally caught his rhythm though, and landed a shot that shattered Sandwich's glasses. "You think you're some kind of sophisticated tough guy? Fact is, I had your wife before I put her in the dirt." Hearing that, Chris went into a blind, bloodthirsty rage and charged in. At this point, they were dead even to heavyweights swinging for the fences. But when a guy talks trash about your wife like that, you find a whole new level of fight. Chris dodged a hit, laid into his face, and kicked him hard enough to pin him against the wall. But that was just a drop in the bucket. Sandwich was too fast and too strong. He caught Chris with a brutal roundhouse kick right to the dome. Over on the belt, time was running out. Diago finally decided to use the saw. Better she lose an arm than her life. Watching that poor girl scream in pure terror felt like 1,000 knives twisting in his own heart. Back in the pit, Sandwich knocked Chris flat into a pile of coal. He kept taunting him, saying his wife was alright, but maybe a bit too soft for his taste. Chris was fuming. He threw up a distraction and went back on the attack with everything he had. He went wild, landing every punch, dodging like a pro, and working the hitman's legs. Then he used a cable to launch a flying kick that nearly stopped Sandwich's heart. He tried to bolt up to save Lisa, but the hitman cut him off again. They went back to trading blows until Sandwich hit the floor, but the guy was a tank. He caught Chris with a nasty uppercut. He slammed Chris into an electrical panel and Sandwich punched clean through a gas pipe. Chris saw his opening and countered with a fist the size of a damn ham. He threw everything into a tackle and tried to lock him up, but the hitman was just too powerful to pin down. Sandwich managed to turn the tables, catching Chris with a nasty elbow. He took Chris down again, but Chris locked his shoulder. Sandwich reached for a blade though, and Chris took a nasty cut to the gut before scrambling back up. Up top, Diago was staring down those shredder blades, trying to summon the nerve to saw his daughter's arm while she pleaded for her life. In the end, he just couldn't do it. He looked at that Grim Reaper machine and honestly just wanted to throw himself in if it meant saving her. Even if they weren't blood, he loved her more than anything. He was stuck, no way forward, no way back. Meanwhile, Sandwich was still mopping the floor with Chris. With that weapon in hand, it was an uphill battle for Chris to take down a pro like him. Hearing the girl scream, Chris pulled a teleport move to get up there and save her. But before he could blink, that bald psycho tougher than a cheap steak showed up to ruin the party. He plunged a blade into Chris's gut, then grabbed Diago. He growled, "You want to know how to stop this belt? Tell her what you hired me for." Back against the wall, Diago broke down. "Lisa, I'm so sorry. I hired him to tear you and your mother apart, and he's the one who killed her." Lisa was absolutely crushed. "Now keep your word, you bastard. The controls are on the first floor. Go get them if you've got the time." Lisa was staring death in the face. Suddenly, Chris shouted, "Use your diamond necklace." She didn't hesitate. She jammed that necklace into the gears. Turns out, diamonds are forever because they locked that machine up tight. As Sandwich tried to lung for Lisa, Chris intercepted him and dragged him away. While they were wrestling, Diago saw his shot, lunged with the saw, and caught the hitman right in the throat, but Sandwich managed to pull Diago over the edge with him into the abyss. With her dad gone, Lisa turned to Chris. He was fading fast from that gut wound. "Dad, I'm sorry. I believe you now. Please don't leave me." She was heartbroken, but it looked like it was too late. Chris's final words were, "I love you, kid." Everything went quiet. We all thought Chris had gone to join his wife in the afterlife, But I guess the director had other plans because the men pulled through. Lisa lost a father she knew but found her real one. Eventually, the two of them moved back to the States to live happily ever after. But don't get too comfortable, Sandwich didn't kick the bucket. He vanished from the scene, which means he's probably out there planning his next move against Chris and Lisa. I'd bet my bottom dollar there's a sequel coming where Chris trains his girl to be a world-class fighter. This whole story just goes to show that parents will sacrifice everything for their kids, so cherish them while you still can.